Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mafex Avengers Infinity War Dr.Strange. And man, this guy went up for pre-order so long ago that I almost forgot about it, and I forgot how excited I was about this figure. And that excitement didn't re-emerge until I started to see people take amazing pictures of him, and then when I heard about how awesome he is, then I got all hyped up again. So here we are. I'm excited to talk about this, so let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the packaging. Through the window, you are able to see Dr. Strange along with all of his accessories. Down here, we get a look at the figure. It says Avengers Infinity War. Over here, we get a look at the figure like in one of his different looks. On the side of the box, it says Avengers Infinity War, and then we get a look at Dr. Strange again. On the back, oh man, we get a look at all the accessories that he comes with. We get a look at the figure. It's looking incredible. And then on this side, we get another look at the figure. And man, I cannot wait to open this up. So let's go ahead and get into it. Ooh, damn. All right, so here we have Dr. Stephen Strange right out of the box. And I've got to tell you guys right off the top, this thing is absolutely incredible. Mafex did a great job on pretty much every single aspect of this figure. I feel like they went to the max on everything on this guy. There's no like shortcomings. There's nothing I wish was different. You know, typically when I buy a 6-inch Doctor Strange figure, I'm always like, oh, this is cool, but you know, it needs a soft goods cape. Or, oh, this soft goods cape is cool, but I wish it did this instead of that. Or like, oh, I wish he had a different head sculpt. Or I wish he had different magical effects or whatever. There's always something I wish was different. But that's not the case with this guy. Everything is pretty much exactly what I want out of a Doctor Strange figure. So, man, Mafex, they absolutely killed it. This thing is awesome. And you know, one thing that really jumped out to me as soon as I took him out of the box is the quality of the cloak. Typically, when it comes to soft goods, Mafex does like an okay job. It's never like mind-blowing, but it's always pretty much serviceable. And I thought that was going to be the case with this cloak. I thought it was just going to be like, all right, and you know, it's a soft goods cloak and we're good to go, so whatever. But this thing came out incredible. Like, it doesn't feel like it came from a factory, you know? It feels like a one-of-a-kind handmade piece by some talented soft goods customizer like Harker Customs or Rebel 10 Customs or someone like that. It feels like a one-of-a-kind piece, and we typically don't get that from Mafex. So yeah, I really love this cloak. It has a dynamic, flowy kind of look, and it looks lifelike, or it looks alive, I should say. And that's very accurate to the way the cloak should look and feel. It feels like it's its own thing, just kind of hanging out on Doctor Strange. It does have a wire that's running through it that helps with that whole dynamic feel, but man, just look at that. It's amazing. There are a couple of small imperfections in the collar area, but nothing major. And yeah, like I said, it just feels like a custom piece, which is a huge compliment to say about like a toy company. So they killed it on the cloak. And let's go ahead and let me show you how this cloak works. So it pegs in to the chest here, and then you could remove it, but then you have these big huge peg holes on the chest. And then check this out. He has like an interchangeable chest piece. And in the directions, it shows that you have to like pop this off to change out the chest piece, but it's not necessary. There's enough clearance, you could kind of push it back enough to get this in there. And there's peg holes that hold it in place. And then there you go. So you could give them that look. Like, how crazy is that? Interchangeable chest pieces? That's crazy. And then he also has an interchangeable back plate, I guess you could call it. As you can see, it's smooth here, but it comes with another one, which I will probably end up just kind of leaving on him permanently because it's covered for the most part. But you could pull this off, and then you could put this piece here with the peg holes. And this is the piece that I'll probably keep on him. That way I could, you know, put those extra pieces onto him and stuff. But look at that. Interchangeable back piece, interchangeable chest piece, and then there you go. You have a completely different look. It's like having two figures in one. And then, you know, you could pose up the cloak doing different things, hanging out behind them or whatever. So yeah, how cool is that? I did not expect this whole interchangeable chest and back situation. That is such a cool feature, and it's a really good way to handle the cloak. Yeah, look at that. How awesome is that? It's a beautifully sculpted figure, the head sculpt is nice, and just yeah, right out of the box I was like, geez, this thing is awesome. But let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at the details on him. So as usual, starting off at the head, I think this is a really great looking head sculpt. It's very accurate to the way that Doctor Strange appears in the MCU films, and I feel like Mafex did a really great job of capturing the likeness of Benedict Cumberbatch. The sculpting work is very well done, the paint is nice, especially on the eyes. Look how clean the eyes are. That looks really good. The skin tone looks good. The goatee looks pretty good too, but you can see it's a little inconsistent. There are some thin spots, but I think for the most part it looks fine. And then we do have the white sideburns on the hair. And then on top, it looks like mine was scraped a little bit. But aside from that, the hair does look really good. But man, I think this is an awesome head sculpt. It's definitely the best 6-inch head sculpt that I've seen of the movie version of Doctor Strange. So yeah, Mafex, they killed it. Then moving down into the body, starting with the cloak. I think this cloak is really nice, and I love it. You know, don't get me wrong. I think that this is probably like the best version of a cloak that Mafex could have given us. They did a really good job with it. But earlier I mentioned that there was one issue I had, and that's that in some areas, you could see that like pieces are like glued together, and some of the glue doesn't hold as well as it should. You can see that that little piece is kind of coming up right there. So not a big deal, but it's something I noticed. And then same thing right here. You have two pieces of fabric that kind of come together, and they just like glued the ends of them together. And you could see it's just not as clean, I guess, as it could have been. Like I keep having to push that together. I might just put a little bit of glue in there just to make it work. But, you know, it's not a big deal. I still think this cape is amazing, and I really love it. But there are little issues like that, so I just want to be sure to show that. But yeah, moving on to the rest of the... I think I called it a cape. I meant cloak, damn it. Moving on to the rest of the cloak. It looks really good. Check out the details on there. The fabric does feel very high quality, and it does have a bendy wire that goes throughout the whole lining of the cloak. So you could do all kinds of great stuff with it, and then it pegs into the chest there like we saw earlier. But yeah, man, look at the inside here. Ooh, that looks awesome. It's got like a shine to it. I really love the way this cloak came out. Like I said, it has a lifelike kind of quality to it, so it's very cool. They just had to clean it up a little bit in certain areas, but I think for the most part, I'm very, very happy with the way that the cloak turned out. Moving on to the rest of the body, we have some really nice sculpted details here. You can see his little, I don't know what you want to call it, his outfit or his clothing. There's some really good sculpting work in there, a lot of details. The Eye of Ashanti is on a metal bendy wire, so you could kind of just move it around. We'll take a look at that later. But yeah, look at all the sculpting work on here. It looks really good. And then down in the belt, we've got a bunch of details. We have some gold going on, some straps and rings and all kinds of good stuff. And these flaps are soft plastic, so they do get out of the way, but they still look pretty good. The sculpting work on it is nice. It's got some paint work. Doesn't look like it's chipping or anything. And then down here at the legs, these are very well sculpted too. So yeah, they did a great job with all the details. The highlights are definitely the cloak and the head sculpt. But yeah, the entire figure looks amazing. Oh wait, I forgot to show the arms. Let me go ahead and show that real quick. Got some details here on the arms that look nice, that are consistent with the rest of the figure, so that's cool. But yeah, man, I really love the way this figure looks, so I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And then for accessories, Mafex went all out with the amount of accessories that they gave to Doctor Strange. He comes with a bunch of crazy stuff, but let's go ahead and start off with the hands, because he has like every single set of hands that you'd want for Doctor Strange, starting off with the pair of fists, and then he has a set of open relax hands. He has a pair of gripping hands. He has a couple of different types of spell casting hands. He has a set of hands that have the sling ring on them, and that is awesome. I don't think we've seen that before. And then we have a set of wide open dramatic hands. And then we have a pair of open hands that have a hole in the center so you could plug in some of the magical effects. And then we have the same thing for fists. And then he does come with two different head sculpts. This is the one that we've already looked at. I think it's a really great looking head sculpt, and I think they captured the likeness of the character and the actor very well. The other head sculpt that he comes with is very similar to the first one. It just looks slightly more angry. There's not a huge difference in these two head sculpts. I do like the slightly angrier one a little bit more, but it would have been cool if he came with the head that had a little bit more of a difference in it. Like, I think it would have been awesome if he came with the head that had the eyes closed. But, you know, I think both of these head sculpts are very nice, and it's cool that they put two, even though the difference is very slight between the two of them. And I really like the way they did the Eye of Vishanti. It's a separate piece and it's kind of hanging from a bendy wire, so you could kind of manipulate it and do different things with it. I think that's awesome. This one is pretty well sculpted, but I do wish that it had a little bit more paint work on it. And as you can see here, this one has the eye closed, but it also came with the option to have the eye open. And same thing on the open eye. I just kind of wish there was a little bit more detail in it. It's not that it's bad or anything, but just compared to the rest of the figure, I feel like it doesn't have as much detail as some of the other things we see with Doctor Strange. But it's cool to get both versions, and I really like the bendy wire. I think that's a very cool idea. It definitely helps with some dynamic movements and posing. And if he's like casting a spell, you could kind of make it float in the air or something. Or I guess that'll work a little bit better with the eye open. Let's see. I don't know. Like if he's casting a spell, maybe the eye is trying to do something and kind of floating. Let's see what we could do. Yeah, something like that. That would be cool, right? Yeah, so I love the fact that they gave us 2 of these eyes, but I do wish that they put a little bit more love into the paint, but aside from that, I think it's great. And then taking a look at some of the spell effects that he comes with, starting off with the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. And I don't know the names of all these things off the top of the head, so I did have to look them up. But yeah, these are the Bands of Sidorak. They can wrap around his wrist with no problem at all. And then you have the open hand in there. And yeah, this looks awesome. I don't think we've seen this effect in 6-inch scale yet. It would have been cool if they were longer and maybe like some type of material that you could bend, because as it is, it's kind of stiff plastic and they are just kind of stuck how they are, you know. But I think it's a very cool effect, and I'm happy that he came with them because, yeah, these are awesome. And they've got some great detail on them. It might be kind of hard to see. Oh, no, there you go. You can see the really nice sculpting work on there. It's kind of a translucent orange plastic that looks really cool. And I love that he came with this. And then next up, we have the Sacred Sword of Vishanti. And this came out really nice too. I love the detail on it. You can see that it's very well sculpted, and it does have that orange, fiery, translucent look to it. He has no problem at all holding on to it. And check this out. You can see the Eye of Vishanti right there. I love this weapon. This is one of my favorite things that Dr. Strange has at his disposal. When he pulls this sword out, you know it's time to get down. So yeah. And then next up we have this effect, and I don't remember what this is called. I remember him using it in the movie, but I can't remember the name, and I wasn't able to find it online. I don't think we've seen another 6-inch Doctor Strange that included this spell in it. So this is awesome. He looks great holding it. And yeah, this is really dope. Again, we have that like fiery red translucent look that matches the other spells. And then we have some really great detail on there. Look at all that. And then next up we have the Rings of Ragador, and these are really nice too. Just like the other effects, they're beautifully sculpted with a whole bunch of detail. They have that translucent color once again, and they just look awesome. And I like how they have these little bands that you put around the forearms. It kind of adds a little bit of depth to the whole look. And these are, you know, they just kind of sit on the forearms. They don't plug in or anything, but they stay in place pretty securely. But yeah, these are great, man. Look at all the detail on them. That's crazy. Some beautiful sculpting work there on these things. And then next up we have the Time Stone effects. And as you can see, he has enough to put onto both arms. And these came out really nice too. We do have like the loose rings that go onto the forearms, and then the piece that goes onto the hands. And this doesn't plug into the hands. The way this works is that the fingers kind of plug into some spaces on the effects, and they kind of cover the fingers in a very natural way, you know. Kind of looks like his fingers are submerged in the magic. So very cool. I like the way this turned out. I like the green against the rest of Doctor Strange. It's a nice contrast to the dark colors of the character himself. So I've always been a big fan of when he's using the Time Stone with the green effects, and I think it looks awesome here on the figure. And then finally, we have by far my favorite accessory in this set, and that would be the multiple arm effect. I apologize, I don't know the name of the spell which gives Dr. Strange all the arms. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But I'm so happy that Mafex included this because this is awesome. I'm going to display him like this and it's just going to look amazing on the shelf. This is crazy. And we haven't seen this in 6-inch form yet. I think maybe the Hot Toys Dr. Strange did this, and I think the Egg Attack Dr. Strange included this effect. But we haven't seen it in 6-inch form yet, so I'm so happy that Mafex did it, and they killed it, man. I love the way that it works. So as you can see, we have arms coming out from inside the cloak and on the outside of the cloak, and the way they did that is you peg in the lower arms into that back plate that I showed off earlier. That pegs right into those, and then we have a magnet right there. So then you take these arms and just put them onto the figure with that magnet. And it's a very strong magnet. It can hold it. If you start like pushing it around, it could fall off. But just like that, look at it. It's a pretty strong magnet. Whoa. Well, there we go, as you can see. If you go like that, I guess too much weight goes forward. But just holding it like that, it stays on there pretty good. So that's a strong magnet. In fact, I might be worried about leaving an imprint on the cape. So you may want to be mindful of like how long you actually keep this on there. Or maybe just check on it every now and then. But man, look at that. That is amazing. None of the arms are articulated or anything like that. But, you know, that would have been too much anyways. I'm perfectly happy with the way they are. But man, how cool is that? Such a great accessory. I think this is like the main reason to buy this figure, honestly. The arms and the cloak are just really what set this figure apart from all the other Doctor Stranges out there. And it just takes it above and beyond because this is amazing. And then for some size comparisons, here we have the Mafex Infinity War Doctor Strange alongside the SH Figure Arts version and the Marvel Legends version. And I think that both of these figures are pretty cool, especially the Figure Arts version. I like that they gave him a soft goods cloak, but the way they did it was kind of weird because most of the cloak is soft goods, but then around the neck area and the collar is plastic. So they kind of look weird, you know. It doesn't flow seamlessly. You could tell like when it's plastic and when it's soft goods, it looks a little strange. And it makes it to where you can't remove the cloak, so it's a little limited. And then the Marvel Legends one is cool too, but he's kind of limited because he does have the time stone effect on his hand, but you can't take it off. So those were kind of bizarre approaches on both of those figures. But I do like them. But I've got to say, it's not even a comparison between them and the Mafex one. The Mafex one is just so much better than the both of them. It does everything they could do and more. And yeah, it's not even close. And then next up, we have them alongside the Marvel Legends Endgame Thor and the Marvel Legends Infinity War Captain America. And they're both bigger than Doctor Strange. I kind of see him as a shorter guy compared to some of the other MCU characters. But it looks like, I don't know, he looks super short next to the two of them. But you can make it work. And then next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Multiverse of Madness Wong and America Chavez. And I think they all look pretty good together. And then next up, we have him alongside the SH Figure Arts Avengers Assemble Iron Man and the Marvel Legends Mark III Iron Man. And dang, that Marvel Legends Iron Man is super tall next to Doctor Strange. And then here we have him alongside the Mafex Endgame Captain America and the Mafex Infinity War Captain America. And then here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Scarlet Witch and the Mafex Homecoming Spider-Man. And then here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange and the Marvel Legends Multiverse of Madness Defenders Doctor Strange. And I would love to see Mafex tackle either one of these versions too. Here we have him alongside the SH Figure Arts Deadpool and the SH Figure Arts Star-Lord. And I would like to see Mafex do a Star-Lord figure. I feel like he doesn't get enough love in the action figure world. And then here we have him alongside the SH Figure Arts No Way Home Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Infinity War Spider-Man. Here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Thanos and the SH Figure Arts Thanos. And then last but not least, of course, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange does have some really good articulation, but I do feel like they prioritize the sculpt and the design over the articulation itself. And it's not really to the figure's detriment, because you could definitely have a lot of fun playing around with this figure. He's posable, you could get him into a lot of dynamic and interesting poses, but it does feel like he has less articulation than the standard Mafex figure. But I'm perfectly fine with it because I'm having a lot of fun playing around with them. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the head. He does have movement at the lower neck and at the upper neck. It's a little restricted on the lower end because he does have a collar, but you are able to get him to tilt a pretty good amount. You could get him to look up to about right there. He could look down to right there, which is nice. And then obviously he's got the left to right, side to side. And then for the torso, he has no diaphragm cut, but he does have a joint at the waist, and that gets some really good movement. Check that out. Look at that. That's awesome. It could go to the side a good amount. It could come to the back a pretty good amount, but then we get a gap right there, so you have to be careful. And then he could crunch forward to right there, again, which is pretty nice. And then it could swivel side to side. And then for the arms, we have these awesome butterfly joints, or these, butterfly type of joints. And then the shoulder kind of reminds me of like a figure arts figure because there's a ball joint in there and there's no upper bicep swivel, but you do get a swivel on the ball joint itself. So his arm can swivel on there, and then it does go all the way around, and then the shoulder could kind of shift around and move as you need it. And then for the elbows, he has that single joint. And you know what? His joints kind of remind me of Figma joints, especially at the elbow and the knee. So that's an interesting approach. It's different from what we typically see Mafex do. But I'm okay with it. It works perfectly fine. It doesn't get as much as like a double joint situation, but like right there, that's pretty good. A little bit more than 90, so I'll take it. And then at the hands, he does have a ball joint that is able to swivel around, and you could put it into whatever position you need it in. And then it does have a hinge, and you could also swivel at the hand itself if you need to. But yeah, pretty good movement here on the upper torso. At first, I was kind of like, man, he seems a little limited. But then when you start messing with it, you could definitely get some good stuff going on. See, he could get into some pretty dynamic poses. And then it could look more dynamic when you put the eye of Vishanti on there. And look at that, that's awesome. Kind of make it look like it's kind of moving as he's fighting. Look at that, that's dope. But yeah, the articulation's pretty dynamic on the upper side of the figure. And then moving down to the legs, he does have drop down hips. Yeah, he's got drop down hips, and you could bring his leg up to about right there, which is pretty good, especially considering that he has all this stuff going on. But these pieces are soft, so they kind of just get out of the way. So look at that, his leg can go way up. You probably won't need Dr. Strange to do this, but it's possible. You could bring it back to right there, and then to the side to about right there, but then his clothing kind of wants to push it down a little bit. And he does have a swivel on the ball joint as well. He doesn't have like an upper thigh swivel, but it does swivel on the ball joint, so that's good. So good movement at the hips, especially considering that we have all this stuff going on. And then he does have a single joint at the knee. Again, it's very similar to like a Figma joint, which I'm okay with because it gets enough range. Like, that's pretty good right there, more than 90. I know a lot of people were mad when the Mafex Mandalorian figure had a similar joint to this, but I feel like his got a lot less range. Dr. Strange's is pretty good. And then at the lower leg, well, actually, it can swivel right there if you need to as well, but that just kind of makes things difficult because it swivels and then you kind of have to readjust it to make it look right. And then at the foot here, we have a swivel, and then we get some rocking action going. You could bring his foot forward to right there, up to right there, and then he does have a toe hinge. So yeah, like I said, initially, when I started posing him around, I was like, man, he doesn't feel as posable as like your standard Mafex figure. But after taking some time with it and just playing around with it, you could really get him into some cool poses. So yeah, I'm happy with the articulation, even though it kind of caught me by surprise in some regards. I think he's got enough going on that he's very enjoyable to pose around. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I don't think there's much else I need to say. I'm pretty sure that it's clear that I absolutely love this figure. I think that Mafex did a great job on pretty much everything. I love the way he looks. It's beautifully sculpted. There's a whole bunch of good details. The soft goods cloak is amazing. I love the way that was executed. The accessories on him are like out of this world. They really went above and beyond with the amount of accessories that they gave to Dr. Strange. Articulation is pretty good, even though it did kind of throw me off just a little bit because it's different from what I'm typically used to seeing on Mafex figures. I think that he's very posable and he's fun to play with. So even with the differences, I think the articulation is awesome on this guy. And yeah, just in general, this is a great figure. Mafex absolutely killed it. So I'm very happy with this. If you need a good Doctor Strange figure, my advice is to get this guy here. Yes, there's some other good versions out there. The Figure Arts one is pretty cool. Legends has a couple of good ones, but none of them are nearly as awesome as this figure. This is hands down the best 6-inch Doctor Strange, in my opinion. So yeah, I really don't think that it gets much better than this. One small complaint I do have about the figure is that when you pop them apart so you could switch out the chest and the back piece, it's really hard to get them back together. Thankfully, there's a workaround. You could just kind of lean them back or lean them forward, whichever way you need to, and it gives enough clearance so that you could change out those pieces. But then you have to kind of work around the floating waist pieces and things like that. It's still possible, and it's the much easier option, but I really wish that he was able to pop apart and go back together with no problem. The 2 times I popped him apart, it was super hard to get him back together, and to me it just wasn't worth doing anymore. So like I said, thankfully he's able to lean back enough so that you could switch out those pieces, but it would have been nice if he popped apart easily and went back together just as easily. But man, I'm so happy to finally have a really satisfying Doctor Strange. There's been some other good ones out there, but none of them touch this, and he's one of my favorite MCU characters. He very much feels like the comic book version of Doctor Strange, so I've always been a big fan of him, especially when he was in Infinity War. Although I did like the Doctor Strange movie as well, I think he was such a badass in Infinity War, and that's really where he became one of my favorite MCU characters. So I'm so excited to finally have a really, really good version of that Doctor Strange. And man, I would love to see Mafex do a comic book Doctor Strange with this level of love. That would be amazing. Hopefully they get to that eventually. But yeah, man, I really, really love this figure, and I highly recommend it. So go get it while you can. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I put up a video, and you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I do go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. And I'm going to try to go live every Sunday at 10 a.m. PST just to talk about comics. So if you want to talk about comic books, come through Sunday mornings and let's talk about comics and have some coffee. Thank you very much. Peace.